we can spread out when we teach what of the different skills to set our learners up for success with that task. So this has been built out K through 12. A colleague and I built this out. We are just going to focus on kindergarten through 8th grade and thinking about that. A couple things to orient you to this resource that we will be sharing out is that, as I said, sort of we've kind of set it up so that there's a progression from kindergarten through 12th grade on which skills to work on. And while these say certain grade levels, I want you to realize that that grade band or grade level is driven by a copious amounts of research on how our students developmentally can learn those different skills. Like, where is it developmentally appropriate for students to learn those skills? But what I also want you to hear is that we can really think of these as steps or stages or phases of building mastery of that task. And therefore, you might land in a 6th grade classroom in your student teaching or in your first teaching job, and you're looking at this, you're looking at your learners, and they aren't at all ready to do any of the skills in the 6th grade column. And that's okay, because that's an indication that, you know what, they're just a step earlier in their work with data skills. So see them as grade levels or grade bands, but also realize it's more kind of phases or steps as we work through to building these data skills over time. A couple other things to know is that it's a really big resource. We're going to talk through a couple of it here in the mini lecture, and then we're going to explore it more in the next session in class with your peers. But it's organized. There are a couple ways that it's organized to sort of help you make sense of the resource. And so the rows alternate by color, and that's just to help you see the difference between the rows. Within a row, if there is a cell that has a really different color, that is to indicate that that's a keystone skill. What's a keystone skill, you might ask? Well, you can think of it as this is the sort of crux of needing to understand these components at the core to be able to accomplish this task independently. Now, some of these show up for our really young students, our really littles. This is why we need to teach data from the very beginning for our learners, because somebody can execute, a learner can execute these subsequent skills, but not without a lot of hand-holding. So there's a lot of need for the teacher to provide support and structure and hand-holding, and our learners aren't very good at doing it independently, retaining it or applying it in new situations like state tests. So those keystone skills are really important. They are not the mastery level of the task. They are not what we would expect at the end if somebody is completely conversant and competent in the task. Instead, they are the sort of turning points of you gotta really nail these core components down in order to get the rest of the row. Sometimes they show up early, sometimes they show up in the middle. They never show up here.